Okay, so for this tutorial, we're basically going to look at in the compute section. So we're starting into that. We're going to look at create a continuous delivery pipeline. So when you basically open up the information here, you can basically sort of see there's a few steps to this. There's to set up the Git repo, deploy web app, create the build project, create delivery pipeline, initialize pipeline, and test. So if you're going to read through this, the basis says you're going to create a continuous delivery pipeline for a simple web application. So there's a few kind of steps to this, but this just kind of gives us a bit of kind of information about, um, some of these items that may kind of come up in the exam. So we're going to kind of walk through this one. So the first thing it looks like we need to do is look at the application architecture. So this just looks like the users to the GitHub, to the AWS CodeBuild, to the manual approval, to the Elastic Beanstalk. So if you're going to go down here, you basically sort of see, okay, module 1 is to set up the Git repo. Set up the Git repo basically assumes you have an existing GitHub account and Git installed on the computer. If you don't have these installed, you can follow these step-by-step instructions. So first of all, if you don't have these, make sure that you follow those instructions. I'm just going to do the simple thing here, obviously, and just use my own GitHub here. So it says in new browser, navigate to GitHub. Make sure you're logged into your account, which we are. In the same tab, open the sample repo, which I did here. Then it says choose the white fork button at the top right hand of the screen. You'll see a small window asking you where you would like to fork the repo. So let's just going to do that, create new fork. So I went up here, fork, create new fork. So it says where would you like to create it to. I'm going to create it to here, that repo here, create fork. Copy to main branch only. It doesn't say anything about which branch. Verified showing your account of Joseph, create a fork. Okay, so it doesn't basically say anything about the main branch, so we'll just go ahead and create that. We can always kind of delete this anyway, but basically if we kind of go back here, you can sort of see popular repositories here. We sort of see um, our new repository here, which is its public version. So we've just basically forked it over. So that looks kind of good. So we can go into repositories and you can sort of see that's a new repository there. Okay, so basically looks like we've done this. Then it says push a change to your new repository. So push a change to your new repository, go to the repository and choose the green code button near the top of the page. So go up here, go new green button, which is here. Oh, go back one for a second. Sorry, let's go in here. So it says go to the repository. Go to the repository, so click into the repository first, sorry. Then go to your code, which is here. So choose the code green to clone the repository using HTTPS, confirm clone with HTTPS. If not, select use the HTTPS link. Okay, choose clone, copy to keyboard, copy to clipboard, which is here. Looks fine. So basically, if you're on a Mac or Linux, open your terminal. If you're on Windows, open launch git bash. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my AWS study. It's here. Okay, so I've basically just opened up a new Mac terminal here. Just going to make it a little bit smaller. Basically, so it says if you're Mac and Linux, open your terminal, which we did. In the terminal, bash whatever you're using. Should change the name. So we have to do your username. Okay, so we can take that, and I'm just going to put this into Notepad for 1 second because it's just easier from Notepad. Then we can go back here. We can take this guy here, Copy. Then we should be able to clone into our downloads here. And again, I mean, change that folder if you really need to. But basically, we now should have a folder called AWS um, Elastic Beanstalk sample, which is here. So basically, all I've kind of done is I've just gone into my downloads. I'm just picking downloads for the moment, but just cloned this down. Once you basically forked it into your own GitHub repository, then it says what we need to do. In the new folder, there's a file called app.j. Okay, so what we need to do now is let's go in and let's just do this the simple way, probably. It's sort of saying downloads, express I see, j.app I see, open in Visual Code. So what I've just kind of done is just a quick kind of testing. I've basically just opened up the app.js over here. So it says in the folder there's a file called app.js, which there was. Open that in your favorite editor. Change the message in line 5, which is this. To say something other than hello world. So I'm just going to say hello world cloud solution architects. .eu. Okay, save that. Then it just says go to the folder created and commit a change. So we need to go back to our command line here and just take these commands quickly. So we sort of see if we list this, and sort of see that app.js changed here. We can change that. So I can take that. I can take that and I can basically just take these, copy this here, paste, and commit, and just change message. So it's just going to be, change it. You should really obviously just kind of, so we sort of say changed message, something kind of like that. And then something like that. And we're going to paste that. I need to update my keyboard. Well, basically that. And then push the changes here. So we're just going to push the changes here, paste. Here it's kind of asking us to enter a password. Allow. Always allow. Always allow. Okay. So let's sort of see. So basically just kind of going back over to our Git here, we can basically sort of see that there's a change here. So we updated this file with this line here because you can see the plus here. So we've added this. Then we basically just pushed it into our GitHub repository. So this is the app.js file that we just basically updated. So if I go back into here, I go into my repositories, go back to this, I should basically sort of see that there was a change 4 months ago for this file here. So that's fine. That's okay. That all looks okay. I'm gonna come back here. I'm going to close it because it looks like I have two versions of that. Push changes, tester changes. So to tester changes in your web browser, open GitHub. In the left navigation repository, select that. Choose the app to file, the contents of file. Should have changed. Yeah, we just verified that. Application architecture. This is what the architecture looks right now. We've created a code repository containing the simple web app. We will be using this repository to start a continuous delivery pipeline. It's important to set up properly, so we push code to it. Start module 2. Okay. So now we have to deploy our web app. So in this module, you'll use Elastic Beanstalk console to create and deploy a web application. Beanstalk is a compute service which makes it easy to deploy and manage applications without having to worry infrastructure to run them. Okay, so let's just take this, put this into our notes. Let's just remove that for a second. Let's just put this into our notes because it's nice to have. Okay. Then it sort of says what you will accomplish. Beanstalk, a service that makes it easier to deploy applications, the environment, E2 instance, web server, platform. Okay, so configure the web Elastic Beanstalk app in the new browser. Open the Beanstalk. Okay, then it says choose the orange create button. Okay, we sort of see it there. Choose web server environment under configuration. So go here, web server. Yeah, we're there. In the text, DevOps getting started. Text for the application. Web apps getting started. In the platform drop-down, select Node.js. Platform drop-down. So let's sort of see here. In the platform drop-down menu, platform drop-down menu here. Choose Node.js. Okay. Platform branch and platform version will be automatically populate with default selections. Confirm that the radio button next to sample application under the application code heading is selected. Sample application, which it is. Confirm it's a ring free tier eligible. Single instance free tier. Single instance free tier eligible. Okay, looks like we have everything there. That. Okay, on the configure service access screen, choose using existing. So now we have to click next. On the configure access screen, use an existing service role. Use an existing service role, which we do. For the instance profile, depending on your account previously created, choose one of the following based on the values displayed in your list. If that role displays in the drop-down list, select it from the profile drop-down list. So what do we have? We don't have anything right now. Existing service roles. If another value displays in list, it's the default for the environment. If the instance profile drop-down list doesn't have any values to choose from, expand the procedure and create IAM role for into EC2 instance profile. So we need to complete the steps to create a new instance role. this is what it looks like on how to do that. Okay, so you can kind of create here. So we were here basically, kind of going back to this configure service access. We wanted to use an existing service role according to this. So if your instance profile drop-down list doesn't have any values to choose from, expand the procedure and create an IAM role for EC2 instance profile. So complete the steps here to create an IAM role that you can subsequently select for the EC2 instance profile, then return back to this step. Okay. So basically you have to go back in here with this kind of tutorial here. And there's kind of two ways to do this. So you can sort of see here your Amazon instances need permission to access Amazon S3 buckets or GitHub repositories where the applications are stored. So that's basically what we need to kind of do here. So there's kind of two ways to do this. You can do it through the CLI, you can do it through the console. I'm just going to do it through the console for quickness. Just go into IAM, which is gone here. Just there for a second. So in the IAM console, navigate policies and create policy. So go in here, policies, create policy. Choose JSON, create policy, JSON, go in here, back again, copy this, copy, paste. So it says here as well, just before we can, the one I'm going to take says paste the following code. So I'm just going to copy that. But it says there's a note here, we recommend that you restrict this policy to only those S3 buckets in your Amazon instance must access. Make sure to give access to the S3 buckets that contain the code deploy agent, otherwise an error may occur. So it does sort of say you should really just do this for for the buckets that you basically use, but just for this quick tutorial, we're just going to see if we can just do this and do this and go back here, copy that, copy this, paste, just fine. So let's see, choose next. It's a little bit, let's sort of see if we can move this over here, just it's getting a bit crowded. Choose next. We need to give it a policy name. Yeah, so we need to give it kind of on the next page, create policy name, which is this here, copy that, so policy name is going to be that. Optional description, create policy. Doesn't say actually anything about permissions defined in this policy, just basically has S3 list limited read. Okay, so create policy, which is here. And then a basis, so we've created a policy called that, called apply demo. Create policy in the navigation, choose rules, and then choose create roles. So we go into roles, create role. Here we need to say under use case, choose the EC2 use case. Under use case, EC2 use case, under use case we need to choose EC2, which is there. And then we need to choose next. So we need to just come down here and choose next. And then we need to assign it to this policy. In the list of policies, check the box next to that. So we need to just assign that role to this policy. We need to find that, and so to say that, click on next. It looks like we also need to provide this, so I'm just going to okay, choose next. We leave this one, we leave that one part kind of for the minute. Choose next on the review. To do that, trust policies, that, add permissions is that, tag and create role. Now we basically created our role, so we basically have a role here, which allows us access to that EC2. Now you've created an IAM instance profile to attach to your EC2 instances. For more information, go to that. So we can kind of go back now, and if we refresh, so say, okay, the web server environment, we need to go back to we need to go back, web server environment getting started. Probably shouldn't have done that by refreshing. Environment name, domain we can leave blank, manage profile. We said node.js, sample application, single instance, click on next. Role, and here's our instance here, here's an existing one. Key pair, do we need to do anything with key pair values at the moment? We go down, go down, go down, go down, go down. Doesn't that, choose key pair, instance profile, instance, looks like that's our profile. We just have a slightly kind of different name for that, but that's okay. It's okay. Virtual private cloud. Let's go here. Oops. Go here. So you can review all the choices, submit. Assume we just create it in the default. Review deployment. We were here, we were there. Submit. Just doesn't say anything about default. Now we're done with this module, so it doesn't look like we actually have to do too much here. Back here, default instance. Where do we want to set this? We just want to put it in AZA for a moment, just to test this out. Databases. Doesn't mention anything about databases, just store. Tags, next. And here it's talking about root instances. Doesn't say anything here, so I'm just going to select all of the defaults. Here, health monitoring, all of this rolling updates, software. Wow, huge amount of stuff here. Review, submit. So basically, just for a lot of this, I've selected the defaults. If you're going to do this for real, you'd obviously ensure that you're going through all of these. So it says after a few minutes have passed, you'll see a green banner with check marks at the top of the environment. Once you have banner, you successfully created AWS Beanstalk application and applied it to your environment. So here, and let's give this a few minutes to create. So once it basically came up, environment successfully launched here, kind of as seen already. You went so here it says environment successfully launched. This is what we basically sort of see here. Exactly the same. Then we have to go into test your web app, which is here. So it says to test your web or your simple web app. Select the link or the name. So just go into that the main name here, and basically that's the name that I was basically getting there. And so it says congratulations. Your first AWS Elastic Beanstalk Node.js application is now running in your own dedicated environment in your AWS cloud. Okay, that's okay. It's only a sample app, and all of this will be destroyed and taken back down straight after. So let's sort of see. Let's go back into where we were, which was module 2. Okay, we see it's running now. The application architecture now we're done this module. Your architecture looks like this. So we have a Git repository. We have our Elastic Beanstalk, which is basically running. We just don't have anything kind of linking those together right now. Then it says, okay, start module 3, create build project. Okay, create build project overview. You will use CodeBuild to build the source code previously stored in your GitHub repository. AWS CodeBuild is a fully managed continuous integration service that compiles source code, runs tests, and produces software packages that are ready to deploy. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and again, I mean, we're just doing this all the time just for practice for the exam, just to get more and more experience of some of the services that you have probably not used. So let's sort of see what you'll accomplish. Okay, create build project with AWS CodeBuild. Set up GitHub as a source provider for the project to run the build. Okay, so you can read about this yourself. You have Oauth. Oauth is kind of an important part here because it says the key concepts that you'll basically look at is the build process, continuous integration, build environment, build spec, build project, and Oauth. It's an open protocol for secure authorization. Oauth enables you to connect your GitHub account to third-party applications, including AWS CodeBuild. Okay, so I'm going to just put that as another item which we're going to concentrate on. So here we sort of say configure the AWS CodeBuild project. So this is the first part. In a new browser, we want to open the CodeBuild console. So the one thing I just want to do here is Beanstalk. I just want to make that a favorite first of all before I did anything. Then here I want to sort of say CodeBuild, which is here. Okay, which is here. So I'm going to go into CodeBuild. And here you sort of see I don't have anything because I've never built anything in CodeBuild in this account. So what I'm going to do here, this one here, we should copy because this was helpful. Putting these into the actual notes, but we don't need that right now. Okay, so here it sort of says module 3. We're on module 3 right now. Configure the AWS CodeBuild project. Yeah. New browser. Open CodeBuild console. So if we go into CodeBuild, here's our CodeBuild. Okay. Here it sort of says choose the orange create project button. So create project button. Create build project. Slightly different name, but it's going to do the same thing. Here in the project name field, you're basically going to put your, let's just move this one here. Project name as that. Select GitHub from the source provider drop-down list. So source provider drop-down list, going to be GitHub. Connect using Oauth. Connect using Oauth, which so it says make sure that's choose the white. Connect to GitHub. A new browser will open, asking you to give AWS CodeBuild access to your project. So connect to GitHub. And here, do we want to allow this? Yes. Authorize AWS Code Suite, which we do. Let me just see this again just before we do authorize that. Yeah, enter your Git password. This is use Git mobile. Use Git mobile. It's just basically because I actually have it on my mobile. You can basically hear it coming through. You can type in your digits for that and approve. Everyone will have a slightly different way to do this, but basic processing OAuth request. Confirm. Choose the orange confirm button, which we did. Select the repository. Select repository. So we have to put that link back in that we had before, which is this, which is how do I modify that? Public repository in my GitHub account. GitHub repository. Source provider is GitHub. Repository in my GitHub account. Is that right? Repository in my GitHub. Repository in my GitHub account. Put your URL, which is what we need to do. Connection status. Source version, environment. What else do we need to add here? Connection status, source environment. Confirm the managed image is selected. Confirm the managed image is selected, which we did. Select Amazon Linux 2 from the operating system. Linux 2 from the operating system. It just looks like we have Amazon Linux, so I'm just going to select that. It's fine for now. Select standard from the runtime. Runtime is just going to be standard. The image here, select that image. Looks like 3.0 of this image. Amazon Linux version. Image 3.0. That's the one that they selected. There is kind of higher ones, but just following through on this tutorial first of all. Then we could always update later. Confirm. Always use the latest image for this runtime version. Always use the latest image. Yeah. Confirm Linux is the environment type. Confirm Linux is the environment type. Okay. It says here. Confirm new role. Confirm that the new service role is selected. This is the role. New service role is selected, and this is the role name that we created a few minutes ago. We don't need to go into detail here. This is just a little bit of practice. Build spec. In here, create a build spec for the project. So select insert build commands, insert build commands, which is here, build commands, and then choose the editor, switch to editor, I should say. And this here, we should copy this here. We should just copy this, and let's sort of see. That's all. If there's hash in front of it, it's commented out. Phases, build commands. So build commands, phases. Looks like we can just take all of this here. Remove, paste. Just keep it nice and clean. Okay. Says choose the orange create build button. Choose the orange create build button, which is here. see what kind of happens here. So we have CodeBuild. So I want to just update this 1 second, because this is like continuous with git code build Oauth and Beanstalk. Okay, just updating notes there, as you know, as we know. So you have a build project here. So it says choose the create build project. You should now see dashboard for your project. Okay, create build project. Create. So we have create build project, which we've done here. So test the code build project. Choose the orange start build button. This will start the build process. Confirm the loaded page references the correct GitHub repo. Choose the orange start build button. That's strange, is it? Choose the orange start build button. This will load a page to configure the build process. Okay. Confirm the loaded page references the GitHub repo, which we did. Okay. Then here it says choose the orange start button, which we did. Wait for the build to complete. As you're waiting to see a green bar at the top of the page, build successfully. Okay. The progress for your build on the build log after a couple of minutes, it should sort of say it's succeeded. Message confirming that the builder worked. Okay. Here. So here we can sort of see that basically the build started, and then it sort of says you have successfully started the following build. And if you sort of see the status, it sort of says it was successful. Here's the build logs that they were basically talking about here. So it looks like it's actually using a container here, which is nice. It's using a container to build the source code successfully. It's definitely YAML file. Okay. So it does say that it basically was successful. Okay, so the application architecture now is what the application architecture looks like now. We can sort of see our users, which is us for the minute, GitHub repository, the code build, which is what we just built here, the Beanstalk, which is what we just built here. Okay. And then we're kind of missing some piece inside of here. So if we go here, we're in module 3, so this is GitHub deploy project. So we need now, so it says we've created a build project in AWS CodeBuild to run the build process of Hello World web app. We're going to be using this build project as the build step in our continuous. We will be using this build project as the build step in our continuous delivery pipeline, which we'll create in the next. So now we're starting on module 4. Okay. Now it says in this module you'll use AWS pipeline, AWS code pipeline. So I'm going to put that as the next item that we're basically going to use here. So this is going to be pipeline. Okay. To set up a continuous delivery pipeline with source, build, and deploy stages, the pipeline will detect changes in the code stored in the GitHub repo, build the source, and then deploy your application to Beanstalk. Okay. What you'll accomplish is this. So these are key concepts. I love the way Amazon kind of does this. It just makes it so easy, and you know. But basically, in the open browser window, open the code pipeline console. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go back to, I want to put this as a pipeline. Let's sort of see pipeline, data pipeline, code pipeline. So I want to keep these as pipelines. So here I can kind of open a new tab, my pipeline. So I had my build, I had my code build, which was good. I have an environment for Beanstalk, so the Beanstalk was the first thing we did. Then the code build was the next thing we did. Now we have our pipeline. And here we can open pipeline, choose create pipeline, the pipeline getting started here. So let's make sure that we kind of, create pipeline, set pipeline, pipeline type. Let's just kind of follow this for a second. Confirm the new role is selected. Confirm the new role is selected, which it is. It looks like allow code pipeline to create a source role that we use in pipeline. Okay. We're just going to follow this through. Configure the source stage. Configure the source stage. So select GitHub version 1 from the source provider. GitHub. So let's see advanced settings. Let's go back here. Source provider GitHub version 1. So that's where that was. Okay. Then it says choose the connect to GitHub button. A new browser tab will ask you to access your GitHub repo, which is fine. So I'm just going to do this, connect to GitHub. I'm going to authorize that. Confirm that. You've successfully configured the action with the provider. Okay. The repo is going to be Beanstalk, I'm assuming. Let's go here. Green, we authorized that, we took that down. Select the repo that you created in module 1, select main, branch, confirm the GitHub webhooks is selected. So just confirm that's fine. Branch is going to be main. GitHub webhooks is selected. Okay, so here it says for webhooks, use webhooks in GitHub to automatically start my pipeline when a change occurs. Okay, so basically I can say choose the next orange button, which is here. Build provider. This is a tool of your build project. Provide build artifact details like operating system, build spec, and output files. So here I want to configure the build stage. Build. So this is add build stage, which is, it says here it's optional, but I'm going to just kind of follow this for a minute. From the build provider AWS CodeBuild. CodeBuild. The region West Oregon. So let's see, the region is West Oregon. Build, select that under the project name. So we're going to find the project name is going to be that, it says. Choose the next orange button. Okay, deploy provider. Choose how to deploy your instances. Choose a provider and then provide the configuration details. Okay, so we're going to go here, configure the deploy stage. Select Beanstalk. Okay. Select Beanstalk. The region application name is going to be this. Application name is going to be this. environment, from the environment text box, choose orange, and then choose the orange create pipeline build. Create pipeline build. Okay. And here you can basically sort of see all of the information that we've basically put in. Now, I'm going through this really kind of quickly, but as you're kind of doing this, try to match up to where we know that this was like the service role that we were kind of creating a few minutes ago, and this is the actual repo here that we want to build, and this is the owner, and try and see if you can kind of just take a bit of kind of time, but due to the video recording, I can't really kind of go through every single one of the video would be huge. Then it sort of says, while watching pipeline, watch the first pipeline execution. While watching pipeline execution, you'll see a page with a green bar at the top. This page shows the fine pipeline. After a few minutes, it will change from blue to green. Okay, go back to your pipeline here. Create pipeline. I mean, the video is to be long enough without. So it sort of says here, success, congratulations, the pipeline has been created. So I'm going to go back here. Once the deploy stage has switched from green and is succeeded, choose AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So say that again. While watching a pipeline execution, you will see a page with a green bar at the top. This page shows all the steps defined for the pipeline, and after a few minutes, each will change from blue to green. Okay. Pipeline. Okay. Blue to green. Okay. So this one failed here. This one just kind of failed. So you sort of see that basically this is the pipeline that we basically started. So it was successful on this part here, and then you can kind of view the details here. View in GitHub. I want to look at that right now. Then it says build here failed, and the message was this. The message was that. Okay. So it takes the source of the GitHub, builds it, and then deploys it. Okay, and it didn't deploy it. That didn't run because this one here failed. So it failed for some reason here. So if you click into the actual execution here, it's sort of see. So it sort of says project cannot be found, resource not found. Just retry stage for just really quickly. So it says here can't be found. So it still failed. So we just need to kind of troubleshoot this for a second. So I think I've found my problem here. So basically, when I deployed my Beanstalk project, basically I created it here in US West 2. So that was actually the zone that I kind of the US West 2, which is kind of Oregon here. So Oregon is basically where I put my Beanstalk. The build project here I had actually built over in some reason it would actually change me back to Ireland. So there's a bit of kind of mismatch between the actual regions. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm just going to move everything over to Oregon. Let's sort of see if I can just build code projects. If I go to Oregon now, what have I got here? I don't have anything. So build, create project. So I have to kind of move everything over to basically Oregon because that's what the tutorial is asked me to do. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and come back to the video after that. Okay, so what I basically did was, like I was sort of saying, I built this into US West 2, you know, this first Beanstalk project here. As you can see, it's US West 2 here. So what I did was I then had built just kind of up here in the regions. Basically, it had actually changed back to Ireland for me because I'm based in Ireland. But basically, I wanted to rebuild it here, so I just basically rebuilt it in US West 2, which is Oregon. So I'm just keeping everything at the moment in Oregon here, according to the tutorial here. So I'm going back to my module 4 here to create my delivery pipeline here. Let's sort of see what we have here. Create new pipeline. So let's go back now to our pipeline here. Let's kind of make sure we're in Oregon, which we are. So now this one, source, build, view details. Because this was basically the same before. Resource not found because, you know, it was actually looking for that. So I want to sort of see if I can just retry that stage quickly. I haven't updated it yet, but I want to sort of see if it actually just picks up the change. So you got your source, you got your build. So we're on the build. Might have to kind of update that. But this doesn't work. So the build, you can sort of see the source succeeded. The build is in progress. It's taken longer than it did. Okay, that's good. So you sort of see the build now succeeds because basically I moved everything back to Oregon because it just kind of updated. Deploy is in progress here. So our build now succeeds. The source it finds, the build succeeds, and then deploy. Let's sort of see if this just works over to deploy back into Beanstalk. Let's sort of see what happens here. Application name, environment name. So we're just trying to figure out if this is basically now deploying back into Elastic Beanstalk. Here, it's still running because you can sort of see here, spinning. Cool, okay. So now our source, our build, and our deployment is back running all successfully. So if we go back into here, create new pipeline, we did build. Watch the first execution. I'm still watching it, so to see once the deploy stage has switched to green and says succeeded, choose AWS Elastic Beanstalk. A new tab listing your AWS Beanstalk environments will open. Okay, so let's go in here. And you can see here it does sort of say environments. It does say There's a health warning here. We'll need to check that out. Just make sure that's expected. Basically, so it says that it's actually on platform. I'm sure you can. Node.js running on Amazon Linux, supported. Web server tier. So let's just go back and follow our tutorial. Select the URL in the getting started environment variable. Go and select the URL. So I think this is our deployment here. Cool. Okay. So basically, you can sort of see that's the file. If you're going to go back to the file, I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to do it this way. File. Yeah. So basically, I'm just going to kind of open the file here for a second. So basically, you know, I put in hello world cloud solution architects.eu. Okay, so I updated that file. Sorry, I updated that file, and I basically put that in. And basically, what it's actually showing us is that Beanstalk is actually running that file now with that change. And basically, we've followed through the full tutorial. So you should see a web page with a white background and text included. Okay, so here's what our application architecture looks like now. You basically have your users at GitHub. So I'm just going to update this for 1 second. Users GitHub. We have our code build. Yeah, we have a code build. It's fine. We have our Beanstalk. We have our code pipeline. So a code pipeline is basically looking at the code build and applying it over. So it's building this and applying it over here. We have created a continuous delivery pipeline on AWS in 3 stages: source, build, and deploy. The source code from the GitHub repository created in module 1 is part of the source. That source code is then built by AWS CodeBuild in the build stage. Finally, the build code is deployed on Beanstalk environment created in module 3. Okay, now let's sort of see. Then we're on finalize pipeline and test. Okay, finalize pipeline test in module. You get to use code pipeline to add review stage. So we're going to add a review stage. So I'm just going to go back in here for a second. Which makes sense, right? That, you know, you would actually have a review stage in your pipeline. Which definitely makes sense. You know, I know we've done kind of some of this work with kind of Tecton, and there's different ways you can kind of do this, but as part of this process, you can add an approval action to the stage at the point where you want the pipeline execution to stop, so someone can manually approve or reject the action. Okay, so you know, as part of this process, I'm just taking these notes here and putting them into here. Okay, so basically what we're sort of going to do is we're going to add a review stage to a pipeline, and we're going to manually approve a change before it's deployed. Okay, so create review stage in pipeline. So open pipeline, which we have already opened. You should see pipeline created in module 4 called pipeline getting started. So let's sort of see our pipelines, pipeline getting started. Yeah, that's there. And select the pipeline. Choose the white edit button at the top. So we're going to select that. Choose the white edit button, which is here. Okay. Choose the white add stage button between the build and apply stages. So between the build and apply, add stage in here. Stage name, review. So we're going to say the stage name is going to be review. Add stage. In the review stage, choose the add action button. Add the review stage, add action button. Okay. Manual review, we're going to call the action name is going to be manual review. The action provider is going to be manual approval. Manual approval. Looks like there's kind of multiple options that you could kind of select down here. This is manual approval though, in this case. From the action provider, manual approval. From the action provider drop down list. Action provider, manual approval, that's what we just did. Confirm the optional fields left blank. Click on the done, save the button. And now you basically have 4 stages in your pipeline: source, build, review, and deploy. So I want to just save all of that, done. Okay. We now have a kind of like a manual review basically where somebody's asking us to review that. Push a new commit to your repo. So, okay. Push a new commit to your repo in your favorite code editor. Reopen that file, change in line 5. So I'm going to just do it from here. Let's see. I'm going to open the file. I'm just going to do it the quick way for a minute. Just going to drag this over. It says your favorite one, but this is going to be like a manual review time. Okay, so imagine I've just made that change to this file here. Go back into my GitHub, and again I just want to do this quickly. I can see my change here. I can see this is the manual review time, so this is the change that basically I've made, and somebody's sort of saying yes, this is okay, what I want somebody to review. So now I push that in to GitHub. Now I've pushed it into GitHub. I've used my under pipeline and approve. Okay, so then it says navigate to your pipeline console, select the pipeline. You should see source stages. So here, save. So now you should see, as it says here, navigate the pipeline, select the pipeline. You should see source and stage build to switch from blue to green. This one's just been built. Here didn't run yet. That's okay. When the review stage switches to blue, I think I didn't save that in time. It kind of went a little bit kind of too quick for me. So what I need to do is just do it quick, change here. So imagine I put in, this is going to be v2, right? So I'm just going to say v2, save my file, go back in here. I can sort of see v2 has come in. Somebody says yes, something here, commit to change, push. Now go back to my pipelines, and I can sort of see it's in progress here. Source has succeeded. Build is running. Just waiting for the build to finish. Apply here. This one succeeded 10 minutes ago. This one's in progress. You can see it here. So the source was good. The build waiting for that. Now we're into a review. Okay. Here, basically, you sort of see the change now. It says there's a review and pending. It's gone from here, review, waiting for approval. So I can kind of click into review, I believe. Sorry. Click here. When the review stage switches to blue, which it does, write some comments. Click the approve button. So review. Here, I can see here. So if I kind of click on that revision, so that's the revision now. I can sort of see that, it's gone to V2, so that's fine. So go back to details. So say yes, this is good to go. So imagine this is, just something, um, you can also reject it, obviously, but just submit that. So I've actually approved it, and then basically, your review here has just been approved. When that kind of syncs up in a few minutes, then it kind of goes on to your deploy here. So I'm now in my deploy stage here. Now my deploy stage, waiting for my deployment. So just while that's happening, I can sort of see here's the change, even in GitHub I can sort of see here's the change basically. And then your deploy now is also succeeded. I can see the pipeline execution ID if I need the information about this one. Few details, I can go into configuration. Here I can have a look around here. I can sort of see what I need to see. But if I kind of go back into this Elasticsearch Beanstalk, go into my domain URL, which is here, we should see V2. So manual review time for V2. So it kind of is just like the kind of V1 of this. I hadn't actually saved it, kind of in time, but you can sort of see that once you kind of have everything in the correct region, and once you're basically at in that review stage, it's kind of straightforward, and once you actually, if you were to set this up, correctly, with kind of correct names and everything, it would definitely make your life an awful lot easier. So, what we've kind of done is we've gone through this whole hands-on to create a continuous delivery pipeline. It does sort of say it takes 35 minutes, but again, learning about these type of kind of things, kind of a bit more in depth, and taking a bit of kind of time is definitely well advised, because these are the types of things you'd remember for the exam. So I hope you enjoyed that one. The last one, the last item that you'd really have to do is make sure that you delete all of those resources. So thank you.